A very good morning to all of you. In this part of my lecture, I shall be first of all talking about Dr. Samuel Johnson, one of the important contributors to neoclassicism, especially neoclassical criticism. Apart from John Dryden and Alexander Pope, Dr. Samuel Johnson is often mentioned as one of the important figures among the neoclassical writers of his period. Jonathan Swift was also there, and Samuel Johnson is well known as a neoclassical critic. Let's try to understand something about his life and works. Samuel Johnson, or he is well known as Dr. Johnson, was born on September 18, 1709 at Lichfield, Staffordshire, England. And he died on 13th December 1784 in London. As I mentioned earlier, Dr. Samuel Johnson was the English critic, biographer, essayist, poet, and lexicographer. So you can see how he was a very multifaceted person, a multidimensional personality. He was the critic, biographer, essayist, poet, and lexicographer. Lexicographer, you might be knowing, is the person who writes dictionaries. So he wrote dictionaries as well. And Dr. Johnson is regarded as one of the greatest figures of the 18th century. Life and letters means, we can say literature. Okay. Dr. Johnson lived during the 17th century, 18th century, 1700s. And in spite of having very few financial resources, actually he belonged to a poor family. In spite of that, he created the best dictionary that had been written thus far, the Dictionary of the English Language, which was published in the year 1755. So you can understand, it is considered to be the best dictionary. Okay, and in this part of my discussion, I shall tell you more about Samuel Johnson and his accomplishments. Now let's try to understand his life in brief. Dr. Samuel Johnson is a fascinating author. I mentioned earlier that he was born in Lichfield, Staffordshire in 1709. But his mother was unable to take care of him, to nurse him, due to certain illness. So he was given a substitute nurse from whom again he contracted a serious illness. The name of illness is or disease is scrofula. It is a kind of limb infection. He had some problem in his limbs. So because of this, consequently, he was partially blind and deaf. So you can understand a person with, this blindness and deaf. He was a bit deaf as well, partially blind and partially deaf. And even his face was scarred. In the latter part, he contracted smallpox, and that left terrible scars as well. You can understand how miserable childhood he had to live with all these problems. But Dr. Johnson had so much determination to succeed, despite of all these odds, despite of his illness, despite of his what you call poor background. He had that determination to succeed in his life. And he resisted any kind of pity. He did not like, even he did not like self-pity. He did not like that anyone should show pity towards him. Whatever he set out to learn, he learned. Whatever he tried to learn, whatever he wanted to learn, he learned. Yes, whether it was shooting a gun, boxing, or swimming. So he struggled with depression many times, and then dealt with physical syndromes, we can say, certain kind of tics throughout his life. But his determination was so powerful that it contributed to his success. So very inspiring story. You should just read in detail about Dr. Johnson. Despite of all adversities, despite all odds, he overcame and he could succeed in his life. He could establish himself as a critic, as a writer, as a lexicographer. Okay, and whatever he tried, he could learn. So it is means from his story, from his life, we learn that we should not keep on crying about our circumstances. We should try to overcome the circumstances. Actually, he wanted to complete his education at Pembroke College in Oxford, but he didn't have money. Therefore, he was forced to quit early before he completed his education. He wanted to be a teacher, but he couldn't find work. So he turned to writing. And he married a woman named Elizabeth Potter, who was a widow. And she was over 20 years older than Dr. Johnson. But both of them were deeply in love and he married to that lady. So this is about his personal life. Actually, there are many more things. I don't want to go into details of those things, but it is your duty to collect more information about the authors because that helps you understand them in a better manner. Now let's talk something about his writing career. Dr. Johnson obtained some notice with his works London, which was published in the year 1738. Means he came to be known for his works titled London and the Vanity of Human Wishes. So these are the two works which were published in the year 1738 and 1749, which brought a kind of recognition to Dr. Johnson. So both of these works are considered great poems. But his efforts in the 1750s are considered to be very important. During the 50s, whatever he did, that brought name and fame for him. So these 10 years from what we call 1751 to 1760, the decade is a period of 10 years, saw the creation of a dictionary. We refer to that. He created or he published this dictionary in the year 1755. Then he wrote essays. He is well known for Rambler essays, which were published during 1750 to 52. Rambler and then Idler essays. These are the names of journals wherein his essays were published, and he himself was associated with these journals. So he's well known for his Rambler essays and Idler essays. And then Russelly's Prince of Abyssinia is one more important work of 1759. So this decade brought him fame, but at the same time, he lost his wife in the year 1752. Just after the, what you call completion of Rambler essays. And she was often on his mind all the time when he was writing all these great works which brought him name and fame. Dr. Johnson is well known for his dictionary of the English language. Let's have some information about this. Of course, the world had dictionaries. There were many dictionaries, but there was a need of a new dictionary. Especially English language needed a new dictionary because it was constantly undergoing a change. The language was changing and developing during this period. You must be knowing that English has borrowed many words, many of its vocabulary from variety of languages, for many languages. Let's say Latin, French, Greek, or German, whatsoever. Means whatever language you name, English has borrowed from those languages. Wherever they went, they borrowed the words from that language. So with just six helpers, Johnson read several prominent books and then compiled and defined more than 40,000 words that he found in those books. And one of his unique accomplishment means achievements, was that he defined all of the differing meanings of single words. Different meanings, connotative meanings we can say. He tried to come up with different sets of meaning of the words. Firstly, he took these words from different books. He read many important books and he collected those words, 40,000 words. Then he defined them with different meanings. So his dictionary proved to be a model for all English dictionaries written afterwards. Now today, whatever modern dictionaries we see are based on the model provided by Dr. Johnson. Some of his definitions of the words contain witty humor as well. So people enjoyed reading his dictionary. So I mentioned that it was published in the year 1755. Johnson died on 13 December 1784. And Boswell published a biography on him in the year 1791. Of course, it wasn't the first biography of Johnson, but it remains a very popular today. So if you are interested in Johnson's life, you can go through Boswell's biography. So with these words, I conclude my discussion on Dr. Johnson, his life and works.